Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're making a Scarecrow hat and mask. Let's do it. So I have this hat, which we're actually using for another costume, but it'll work for the general shape I have. I've got my EVA foam here. What I'm going to do is lay this hat out. I'm going to trace around it to get the outside brim, and then I'm going to trace the outside, and then I'll take a measurement to trace the inside. So I've got about 4 inches. I'm gonna go with 3 because I also need to account for having a mask on. All right, so I marked out 3 inches from the inside of this all the way around. This is EVA, so if it's too tight, I can always cut this back some, and it'll make it more flexible so that it actually fits the head of whoever has it on. So I'm gonna trace this all the way around, and then I'll start cutting this out. All right, now I've got my circle cut out. Now this is the front up here, so that little shape, I want to keep that in mind. I'm actually gonna put a little X right there so I know that's the front. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this into kind of little triangles, and those are gonna stay there, and I'll show you why. So now inside the inner ring, I cut all these triangles intersecting this so that you have this kind of thing. Now this will be the top, and here's why I did that. So you can put it on, and these will basically pinch your head, and it's going to hold the hat on. So obviously it looks a little kind of goofy right now because this is strange, but it'll make sense in a while. I'm actually going to cut these back a little bit more just because this would be nice for like a normal hat, but I'm going to have a mask on, so I want to add some more space. Okay, so now it's a little bit looser. It's still tight, but there's room here for these to bend out, which is nice because you can put this on a bunch of actors sized heads. So next I'm gonna go do my mask, and then we'll come back to this in just a minute. So here I've got a skull mask of ours. Now you can use any mask. What I'm looking for is the good features. I like the eyebrows on this. I like the open mouth. I like this kind of structure on here. So you could use any mask that you want, and this is just the under mask. Now I did base this in a brown because I'm going to be putting burlap over top of it. So what I've done is I've treated this with 1 coat of contact cement, which I've let totally dry. I've also painted one side of all of these strips of burlap with contact cement also, which has been drying overnight, so these are dry as well. And I'm going to start applying these and kind of feeling out everything so that it takes the structure of this skull mask. It's going to make a really cool scarecrow, so let's do that. All right, so I cut a strip of EVA to go around this edge, and I'm going to hot glue that down. All right, so now I've got this ring of EVA around here. I'm going to take the scrap that I cut off, and I'm going to make a little bridge that's going to go in here to help to bind those 2 pieces together. So let's do that. Back over here on the mask, I've covered the whole head with pieces of the burlap. Now I did take some extra contact cement just to make sure all the edges are glued down. I've got these hanging off. These will cover the neck, and we're going to make kind of a neck piece that I'll show you shortly. The next thing I'm going to do is cut out the eyes. I'm going to leave the mouth in because I want that to stay in there, but I'm going to cut these eyes out so you can see out of it. Over here on the hat, I've got the bridge in to cover that. That's going to hold everything together really well. Now that's good and tight. So now I've got a hat and a brim. I'm going to show you what's next on this. I'm going to spray paint this in with a black. Actually, I'll go spray paint it with brown. So I've got my my favorite color spray paint, espresso here. There's nothing special about it. I just like the color, so use the color that you want. This EVA I have happens to be white. If your EVA happens to be black, you don't even have to spray this. All right, so I spray painted the whole top and bottom of this. While that dries, I'm gonna come over here where I've got some jute thread and a large needle, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sew around this whole eye and that whole eye, and then I'm gonna sew here in the mouth. And then if there's any other places that you wanna add some sewing lines just as like a decoration, you can add that in here now. All right, now I got stitching all the way around the eyes and through the mouth. So this is ready for some paint. I'm gonna get the neck made real quick, and I'm gonna grab some burlap to start putting on this. All right, so right here I've got a loose weave of a burlap. This is actually for landscaping, but I'm going to use this for the brim, and then I've got a tighter weave that I'm going to use for the actual hat part. So I'm just rolling it over top. Here I've got my brim right there. I got my brim here on the other side. I'm just going to cut that out, and this is going to be the template that I'm going to use. And I'm doing that twice. All right, so essentially I'm going to push this. I'm gonna push it down and then cut out where it comes up, so that I get this kind of like circle here, and I'm gonna do that twice as well. So I'm gonna take my tight weave and I'm gonna take the long end, and this just happens to be enough. I kind of measured it and there's a little bit of overlap. I have like just enough to make this work, and I'm gonna essentially start gluing it on all around this so it stands up real tall. All right, so now I've got this hat with a giant burlap pipe on top of it. I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. All right, I'm going to take the inside edge and I'm going to start to roll this up. All right, so I rolled it up and then I just put a tie around it up here. I'm going to leave those hanging off because that's a cool little element. Now I've got this excess that needs to get trimmed off. All right, so now you can see the general shape of my hat. Got a little bit of extra hanging off there, but I'm going to fold that down, and then I'm going to start to sew a seam up the whole side, and it's going to be a cool kind of decorative piece. Okay, so I sewed that all the way down. Now I have what looks like a hat. So I'm going to get the brim done and then put a border on this, and this hat's ready for paint. For the brim, I'm going to take the one I cut the ring out of. I'm going to slide that over top and start gluing it down to the brim. All right, so I glued some burlap around the top and the bottom. I also put this burlap ribbon, basically a strip of burlap around the seams to kind of blend them. I'm going to hit this with some paint, get some hair on the hat, on the mask, and hit it with some paint also, and then this is going to be done. All right, so now I've got the Scarecrow mask over here. I used some silicone and raffia to glue this hair on so that it has this. It's gonna look really cool once it's with the hat. I'm gonna be doing some painting on this. I'm using mask black, which is a mix of acrylic, black, casting latex, and water to make it sprayable. And I'm gonna do some black airbrushing on this. I'll show you that in just a second. All right, so here is some painting. This mask is now totally painted. I'm going to do the same thing to the neck piece and to the hat. So here is the hat, totally painted. Hold it up. This is what you got. Scary paintiness all over it. I'm going to put this on along with the mask to show you what this looks like. All right, so here is the full look. Scarecrow mask and hat and neck. Now, I will wear a head sock under this for comfort because burlap's not the most comfortable stuff in the world, but you can see the hair looks really cool coming out of that hat. I've got a cool, creepy Scarecrow mask, hat, and neck combo. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Justin, tuning out. You stay scary.